A troubling new report warns that al-Qaeda is expanding operations across the Middle East. And here now with some insight is Mike Barrett. He's a former intelligence officer for the Department of Defense and former director of strategy for the White House Security Council. Thanks for joining us.
Morning.
So the State Department yesterday released its annual report on terrorism, this one for 2011, and it says that the death of bin Laden and the deaths of other key members of al-Qaeda have, quote, put the network on a path of decline that will be difficult to reverse. On the other hand, they say affiliates like al-Qaeda on the Arabian Peninsula are getting stronger. But you say that's a distinction without a difference.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, at the end of the day, we talk about core al-Qaeda as though it's somehow tremendously different from these other branches and sequels that they have. It's useful in an analytical context on the one hand to understand because they might have some more local interests. So, for example, the group in Yemen has a specific modus operandi. But as an entity, al-Qaeda itself still has global ambitions and uses the same tactics. So, in fact, particularly the one in Yemen is the ancestral homeland of bin Laden's family, and a lot of the original al-Qaeda folks came from Yemen and from Saudi Arabia around that border area. And so I think we try to say, oh, you know, somehow core al-Qaeda has been dealt with, and now we're just kind of cleaning up the pieces. And there's a real danger in that because it leads to complacency.
So is there any truth to the report's claim that the loss of bin Laden has crippled al-Qaeda?
Well, it's certainly dramatically impacted al-Qaeda. I think that it would be too much to say that it's crippled. You have to remember that, you know, this is really about a large, big movement. And what we're seeing is a schism within Islam. So it's Sunnis versus Shias. And al-Qaeda is kind of the militant arm of the Sunni uprising. But we see them in Libya. We see them in Iraq. We see them in Somalia. We're probably going to see them in Mali, which was just taken over last week by Islamic extremists. We definitely are seeing them in Syria. So we're not talking about an issue that's been resolved. This is certainly something that's ongoing that we need to be aware of and to understand that this is going to continue to be a concern for us well into the future. And
you have expressed concern that based on this report and other assessments from the Obama administration, that they don't fully understand the threat and that that is a dangerous situation.
It is. I mean, if you think about the American kind of approach to these things, we did this even with Iraq. You know, we try to make it about Saddam Hussein as though he's the only problem in the country. And we did the same thing with bin Laden and with al-Qaeda. We try to say it's only core al-Qaeda, it's only this one person. What it is a pervasive ideology. It's a persistent militant threat. It's the use of asymmetric warfare and attacking where we're weakest. So attacking power grids, attacking civilians, blowing up buses like they do across the region. So really the tactics are the same, and we're going to continue to see this small use of asymmetric force by terrorist groups all across the world. Particularly right now, I think Americans abroad have to be concerned because, as we saw with the Israeli tourists that were killed in Bulgaria a few weeks ago, what you see is that they go after soft targets.
Right.
And so the military and the government buildings tend to be pretty well protected, but that drives them after airplanes and after maybe the global supply chain, ports, things like that.
All right, some troubling concerns. Mike Barrett, thank you.